We've been exploring some different ways to build the list. You know, one of the things that you hear about in Wargaming, Tactica 101, is the list. This is like the communication. Fritz, check out my army. Here's the list. Here's what's in it. Fritz, what are you bringing to Thursday night Battletech? Well, here's my 2 lances. Here's the list. The list conveys tactics. The list conveys what you're going to do. Now, within that framework, lots of ways to build your list, whatever the wargaming system is going to be. Part of this is player personality. You want to win. We're going to put up a good fight. We're going to do the best we can. But there's things you like to play. There's tactics you like. There's miniatures that are involved. So the player personality influences the list. But you also want to be ready to based on the model and miniature collection that you have, put together a variety of different lists. Put together some different tactica. And that's one of the things that I've explored. I've pushed up to the Wargaming Tactics 101 playlist here. Now we've got that framework. I want to kind of sub-talk about a list and when a certain model comes into effect. So one of the ways to build a list is called Hero Hammer. Every wargaming system is going to have points, C-bills, tonnage, gold coins, power points, squadron points, support points, whatever that's going to be, that like you can buy your army. So in theory, unless it's historical wargaming where the sides are usually set because we're looking to relive a moment in history and ask the question, this is what I'm going to do, what would you do? What you see is this idea of we purchase our armies for a set point. We have 2,000 battle value each. You can show up with a horde or a ton of light machines. I can show up with some elite stuff. You can have a mix. We can have a variety of different units, but in theory, modified by the rule set, of course, it should be about equal. In theory, right? In theory, not always so, and not always possible. Hero Hammer is where you say, look, whatever the minimum requirements to field my army is, that's what I'm going to take. And then the rest of my points, power points, squadron points, support points, whatever points, battle value, tonnage, C-bills, I'm going to put that into some heavy hitting units, single models that are just so impossible to stop. And then at that point, that's my tactica. What you see here is what I call shoebox armies. Going to a tournament to play, and it's like, Fritz, where's your army? Literally right here in this little shoebox. I'm playing Elite Knights, and I've got 9 models. You're like, what? I did that for a while with 40K with my Grey Knights, because for a while there I was on the tournament scene playing Horde Tyranids. And I had so many Tyranids that after 3 days of gaming, right? Friday night, open gaming, tournament Saturday and Sunday, I'm like, Monday, no one would believe me. I'm like, I can't move. My arms can't move. My back is just like done, because literally moving around hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of models, take them out, put them in, take them out, put them in, spawn, respawn, all this type of stuff. It was crazy. So for a while, I was like, forget the meta. I love playing in tournaments and meeting players and trying to pull off some tactica. I need like the smallest army. I need like a really chill army, and Grey Knights had some interesting configurations. My army was extremely, extremely small. That's the idea of Hero Hammer. Okay, so we've got that framework, and we needed to kind of have that intro framework because now we can dive into the tactica. You have a powerful unit in your army, and think about whatever that wargaming system is, because we're looking at a very high level. I'm giving some examples, but you're going to plug into the matrix what you're playing, so next week you can increase that win factor, cut down that learning curve, and do better in all wargaming endeavors than I have, and I try to continue to do. But what we see is whatever your system is, there's going to be a powerful, powerful unit. Taking that unit, the question is, when do you use it? At the beginning of the game, mid-game, and end-game? That's the question. Now, we need to sidebar for a moment. There's a lot of ideas in wargaming that I've kind of given my own internal labels just to keep track. Out there earning. I used to have a friend, and he'd always be like, what are you doing today? And he's like, I'm out there earning. I'm out there earning. He's always earning. So this idea, like if I'm spending 3,000 battle value for a super powerful mech, and it spends like 6 turns hanging out doing nothing on the table, not contributing to mission goals, not beating up other mechs. It's not out there earning. It's wasted battle value. I could have taken that to somewhere else. That is true to a certain extent, dealing with regular models in your army list, but certain really powerful miniatures, powerful units, powerful models, Deathstar, Super Killy, whatever we're going to call it, whatever you're going to label it, they require a little bit of different opportunity. And I think this is something, going back to the list, that you build in for deliberate use. This isn't something like you just decide, okay, this game I'm going to do that, this game I'm going to do this. I mean, you can, but your results will be completely variable rather than controlling the random. What I see is building a list, taking a powerful unit, and having a plan to use it. So I'm going to share that plan. We've got that framework. Plan A, I send out that super powerful unit, turn 1, rushing forward, and I try to do as much damage and tie you up as much as you can. The unit will be destroyed. It will be eliminated pretty quickly because it's one unit, super powerful, or one model, but your entire army, your opponent's entire army is shooting at that model. A lot of people get angry when this happens. They get very, very upset. You killed my model, right? Well, what was I supposed to do? But the tactica is, if I can take a powerful unit, a powerful model, yes, I paid the points for it, but if I keep you busy, as in your entire army is shooting at it, dealing with it, mobilized to it, if I can keep that for 1 or 2 turns, 3 turns would be amazing. 1 or 2 turns, that means the rest of my army has a complete free pass on the table to mission goals, advancing, and maneuvering. So that's the first way. Maybe use a super killy, send it forward. The second way would be kind of mid-game. Mid-game in that you've now advanced to the center of the table. Think about your gaming table. I've got my deployment zone, you've got your deployment zone, and then we've got this kind of invisible band in the center called midfield. Once units have moved into midfield, super powerful units are ready to engage. What I mean by that is, if I start moving forward turn 1, you're going to be blasting at me with all your long-range stuff, and you have to, right? You have to. But by mid-game, so turn 3, 4, 5, or 6, whatever that's going to be for your system, by mid-game, you've moved up a lot of miniatures, you've moved up some reserves, you're getting positions. There's a lot of targets, target-rich environment. So the tactic for mid-game, for a super killy Deathstar powerful unit, would be you move out and you gobble up, you attack the weakest units that you can. The weakest units that you can. You're not concerned with anything else, because one of the things that we see, right, there's this kind of looking at Japanese sword arts and other things. There's a lot of examples of swordsmen dueling and killing each other, or kind of the verbal transmission of when 2 tigers fight, one dies and the other is mauled for life and is depending on the translation, essentially inoperable for life. You're done. So if I send out my super killy unit and I go up against your super killy unit, we're both going to self-destruct. Either I'm going to beat you, or if you beat me, I'm going to be so beaten up, I'm out of the game. It would be better to go after the weakest possible units, even if they're not necessarily affecting the game at this moment, because that shifts the momentum. Power perceived is power achieved. We're getting into some serious tricknology here for wargaming. You've got your plan, you're maneuvering, you're doing what you got to do, and I'm just like, bam, take that unit. Bam, I blow off that unit. Bam, I take up here. Bam, I move there. You're like, what the heck is going on? It's shifted your focus. When really, I've killed some trash mobs, I've killed some other stuff. So that's the tactic. Sidebar, though, you've got to watch out for tarp hitting. Tarp hitting in wargaming is where you realize, look, I can't kill. I can't kill you. You're too powerful. But if I can block you in or pin you down with a mob of garbage models, then great. Congratulations, you killed 30 models. I've got 70 more, and I just mob around you. We see this sometimes in Battletech where if you have, based on how the hexes occupy, some really fast-moving, cheap vehicles, Savannah Master. Just for the framework, Battletech is like, the future, but it's really the 80s. And apparently in the 80s, all combat was going to be hover vehicles. And the Savannah Master is this hovercraft for one person, single-seater. Think of like an aluminum chassis, a medium laser on there with a little bit of a fusion engine, and that's it. That's it. No armor. There's an illusion of like a fiberglass covering. It's essentially a medium laser on just like a inflatable inner tube. But these things are so fast and so cheap for the lulls or just kind of being neckbeard jerk. You could take like 10 or 20 of these things. And okay, sometimes I do that just for the lulls. If it's someone that I regularly play Battletech with and we've been kind of annoying each other, trying to throw out annoying lists. And it's like, okay, here's my annoying list. You do that once or twice in kind of a real game, it gets old fast. But I say that because if you have a super powerful unit, we see this in Battletech, the clans. These are like genetically modified super soldiers. They make the Jem'Hadar look like baby cakes. And of course, they've got like amazing machines and lost tech and all this stuff. Well, if you've got a clan mech that's super powerful moving forward, it's a hex map. If I surround 2 or 3 rings of hexes with my Savannah Masters, unless you have jump capability, the ability to hit rockets and move over, you can't kill enough of them. You can't break out. I've just tied you up. Plus, I'm shooting at you with like 5, 10, 15, 20 medium lasers, all different targets, all different areas. So you have to be careful about that. You don't want to get tar pitted. Okay, third framework. End of game. So you see this idea. We've got battle value, C-bills, support points, squadron points, whatever it's going to be, power points. And in theory, your army is about somewhat balanced as my army is, in theory, right? Obviously, some wargaming systems do this better than others. What happens here is at this, and I am simplifying it a little bit for the framework, at the start of the game, I've got 2K points battle value. You've got 2K points battle value. Well, now as it goes on, less and less and less. I'm taking losses. I'm making mistakes. You're blasting me off the table. We're 6, 7, 8 turns in, and there's not much left on the table. Units are broken. Units that started out 10, 15 strong are down 2 to 3. Mechs that were powerful are missing arms and smoking and weapon systems smashed. Air support's gone. We're both pretty beat up, right? We're at this point just like slinging out single shots. We're both pretty beat up. At that point, you unleash the beast. That's where that one powerful unit that you've been hanging out now breaks out, end game, and goes after targets that are important for the mission. So you're like, Fritz, I'm hanging on to this point on the hill, right? I've captured the down pilot on the hill. I've secured it with a mech and like a tank that's barely holding on. Great. I unleash the beast and just go in there and just destroy you because you've just got nothing left. It's end game. If you're going to do that, you got to make sure that the unit is very, very, very fast. You're not going to have 2 or 3 turns to get somewhere. So is there a super killy Deathstar unit that's fast, or maybe you've got to pay a little bit of a delivery tax to get it up there? But this is the idea of powerful units, using them, not so much Hero Hammer, where that's the whole focus. This is where you're saying, I've got my army, I've got my list, but I'm going to take a powerful unit. And the Tactica is start of the game, mid-game, end game, exploring that idea on the tabletop.